Bryce Young is set to return against the Packers on Sunday, but otherwise the Panthers are banged up across the board. Can they avoid another blowout loss and pull off the upset at Lambeau? I'll give you my 3 keys victory right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching the show right here on YouTube and listening wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. This episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Back here on yet another Friday. The Carolina Panthers heading up to Lambeau Field to face off against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday in what is a very important matchup for a Carolina Panthers team that sits at 4-4, a team that has been blown out twice now by the top of the AFC, now facing off against one of the top teams in the NFC. Can they be competitive, or will it be yet another humbling loss for Carolina on Sunday? We'll talk more about that later on. The 3 keys victory, give those to you every single Friday. I'll give you those later on the show, but let's start off by looking at the injury report on today's episode, as Bryce Young has no injury designation and is set to return on Sunday against the Packers. And this really is not a surprise at all. And here is really the key, y'all, moving forward. And I don't typically go to practice on Thursday. I've gone a couple of times on Friday. Today, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my attire. I had other plans this Friday morning. That's why the podcast is coming out late. It was a rough day out there on the course, just so you know. But yeah, I'm not out there a lot of the times, but I've been out there enough to know that when someone during the media availability portion of practice, which is 30 minutes, all we really see is them stretching, individual drills, some special team stuff, but any of the real nitty gritty, they don't let us watch. But what we get to see is who's out there and who's not out there and who is off to the side. And the people that are way down the field, away from where the team is stretching, those guys are not going to play. And every single day last week, that was Bryce Young. On Wednesday this week, when Bryce was stretching with the team, I knew right then and there he's going to play. And then later on, when they gave us the injury report and he was a full participant, knew again he's going to play. And that was the case all 3 days, on Wednesday, on Thursday, where they really get ramped up, put on the pads. Then on Friday, it's just a walkthrough. Like, if they can't go on Thursday, they're probably not going to be able to go in the game on Sunday. That's probably the biggest way to tell what's going to happen. But Bryce coming back, not a surprise. Even looking at him from the videos I saw last week, he looked to be able to move fairly well, but you want to be careful with the high ankle sprain. Clearly, he was not able to go last week in that game against the Bills. So he's back this Sunday, which is important, because if Carolina is going to win this game, they're going to need Bryce Young. And looking at the rest of their quarterback situation, Andy Dalton, who apparently broke his right thumb early in that game on Sunday against the Bills, he's listed as questionable. Now, Dave Canales came out and said this on Friday, that, quote, Andy will be the backup this week. He's demonstrated the ability to control the ball, throw it. Really amazing, unbelievable. Okay. I'm very grateful that he's able to play through stuff like this and wants to be there for his team, and showed that. He threw well yesterday, came back today, threw well again. So excited to have that. So Andy Dalton, despite breaking his thumb in the game against the Bills and being awful, and I'm guessing because he broke his thumb, and I know there's plenty of people out there saying, I don't want to hear it. Those people are jerks. But like, the dude broke his thumb and he went out there and was terrible. Now, it wasn't all because of his thumb. We saw that his athleticism, it's not there anymore, but there's at least a reason why Andy Dalton looked the way he did throwing the ball in that game on Sunday. It's because he broke his thumb. Now, an interesting thing that's happened this week is that Mike White has been signed to the active roster. Me and the Panthers are wasting a roster spot with a third quarterback who they hope never plays a single snap while here on the roster. We'll see if Mike is going to be the emergency third quarterback on Sunday or if they're going to just have him straight up be the third guy. I'm guessing because the way the rule is listed nowadays that he will be the emergency third guy. And if Andy cannot play once they get to that point in time, well, hopefully they don't get to that point at all. But if they get to that point where they need to have someone come in for Bryce, then Mike would be coming in at that point in time on his 10th day on the roster. But this is something that I find very curious. And it tells you how they feel about Hendon Hooker at this point in time, that Andy had broken his thumb. And yet, Hendon Hooker didn't come in. And I brought this up that I understand it's not a charity, but my God, man, Andy had been horrible. You're down 40-3. You don't know if Bryce is going to play next week. I felt like Bryce is going to be fine, but still, you don't know if Bryce is going to play. Why would you keep your backup quarterback with a broken thumb and you know he's battling through something? Why would you keep him out there on the field when there's somebody else? I guess we know why, because they have apparently no faith in Hendon Hooker at all. That Mike White, who's been here for less than 2 weeks, is now on the active roster and will be the third quarterback on Sunday, but Andy will still be the backup. That, to me, is weird. I'm just going to put that out there. I don't really understand what's going on with that situation, but Andy Dalton will be the backup. Bryce Young will be back, which is obviously the most important thing. Mike White will be there, break in case of emergency in the game on Sunday. The offensive line, they're banged up, as we know. Cade Mays, and this is something that Dave Canal said on Wednesday, didn't think he'd be able to go. So he is out on Sunday. Damian Lewis, dealing with an oblique, is questionable. Taylor Moton with the knee injury, he went out at halftime, did not play the second half last week. He's questionable. And then Chandler Zavala is also questionable with a knee injury, coming back from IR this week. Well, he's not active yet. Saturday, we'll find out tomorrow whether they're going to activate him to the roster. And if so, expect him to play on Sunday. Now, let me do a quick little search here and just see some of the other reporting for the people that were there at the stadium on Friday to kind of look at what else Dave had to say about the whole situation with some of these guys. Doesn't appear that Dave said anything really. So if Damian, Taylor, and Chandler are not able to play, we're looking at Ike Ekwonu at left tackle, Austin Corbett at left guard. And this is based off of the depth chart that they have out there, the unofficial depth chart for this Week 9 matchup. Nick Samac, who they brought over from the Ravens, he would then be the starting center. Jake Kurhan, who came in at the end of the last game at right guard, he'll start at right guard. And then Josh Nyman at right tackle. If that is the starting offensive line combination, the Panthers do not have a chance of winning this game. You cannot win in the NFL when Nick Samac, Jake Kurhan, and Josh Nyman are playing significant snaps for you. I'm sorry. This is not to be rude or mean to any of those guys. It's just the reality of the situation. Now, I'm guessing in all likelihood, it's going to be Ike Ekwonu. It's going to be Damian Lewis at left guard, Austin Corbett at center again, Chandler Zavala at right guard, and then Taylor Moton or Josh Nyman at right tackle. If those combination of 6 players are available to go, Carolina can win this game. If it's Mac, Kurhan, and Nyman, might as well not even make the trip with the Green Bay. Let's be honest here. So that's where things sit with the offensive line. Defensive starters, as far as their outlook, Princely Mamiellan has an ankle injury. He's going to be out this week. The Panthers did sign Trevis Gibson off of the 49ers practice squad earlier this week. So tough situation for him to leave the Niners to come here. But he is going to be someone they're going to probably call upon on Sunday. The rest of the guys, obviously, you're going to have Nick Scorton out there to play potentially. Well, not potentially. He'll start. It'll be Scorton. It'll be Wonnum. So Scorton, Wonnum, Incoom, and then Gibson would be the 4 you're looking at as far as that goes. Boogie Basham, it would be the 3rd time he would have been elevated from the practice squad if he does play on Sunday. So those would be the 5. They want to have 5 guys active there at outside linebacker on Sunday. Nick Scott dealing with a groin injury. I did talk to him in the locker room on Wednesday. He told me it's something he's been dealing with for a little bit, but this is the point in the season where everybody's dealing with something, and he was going to let the trainers kind of figure out what the situation was there for him. So him being questionable makes me think that he's going to play. He did not practice on Wednesday. Again, a lighter day for the team. So I'm guessing he's probably going to be right there game time decision. And Trevin Wallace, who went out with a stinger last week in his shoulder, he's questionable. If he's not able to go, then it'd be Claude and Sherrillis. And then behind Roseboom and Sherrillis would be Bam Martin Scott. And then Miami Young Meta, if I got that right. So, yeah, again, not a great situation looking at the depth because of the injuries that Carolina has going on right now. That's where things stand so far with the injury report heading into this Week 9 matchup against the Packers. What do the Panthers need to do to beat Green Bay on Sunday? I'll give you my 3 keys of victory right here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and move the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Jalen Coker's 3 receptions, because when you lose 40-9, there's not really a lot of things to point to and say, hey, that moved the game forward. But Jalen Coker did not have a single reception in his return against the Jets the week prior, but came back against Buffalo, had 3 catches, and looked like his old self. And hope is moving forward that Jalen Coker can be a big part of this offense. Cokehead, stand up. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back here on Locked On Panthers every single Friday here throughout the regular season. I give you my 3 keys of victory. Then on Tuesdays, we review those 3 keys and see how the Panthers did. Key number 1, eliminate turnovers. The Panthers have 12 turnovers on the season so far this year. Heading into Week 9, that was tied for the second most in the National Football League. The Green Bay Packers, they have 3. Now, Green Bay sits here at 5-1-1. Carolina sits at 4-4, and it is honestly a miracle that they're even at this point on the season at 4-4, based off of the amount of turnovers that they've had and also based off of this stat. They have allowed their opponents 58 points off of turnovers. That is the worst in the NFL. They have a negative 38 points off turnover margin against their opponents so far this season. That is tied with the Jets. I know you heard that number on Monday. You heard it today. You may have even heard it yesterday. I just want to drive home the point that this team is doing an awful job of taking care of the football. And when you turn the ball over, you do not deserve to win. And I have heard a certain fan base in the state of North Carolina talk about the last 2 weeks. Oh, that team should have won the football game. Maybe that's not the case, because when you fumble the ball into the end zone 2 weeks in a row, you don't deserve the win. And for Carolina, when you give the ball away 3 times like last week against Buffalo, no one's arguing when you lose 40-9 that you should have won the game, but you do not deserve to win in that situation. And they're fortunate that they came back from that 17-0 deficit against a awful Dolphins team, but you cannot continue to live this way. Maybe when you play the terrible Dolphins and the Jets, where you did not turn the ball over, you can win those games. But when you play against the Patriots, where there actually were no turnovers, and you play against the Bills and then the Packers on Sunday, you're going to get your ass kicked. So you have to give yourself a chance to win the game. And Andy Dalton came out last week and he said it himself. I did not give my team a chance to win. If Bryce Young, who has also had bad days like Andy did as far as taking care of the football, if he does the same thing this Sunday, they're going to lose by 30 points. So you cannot turn it over even one time Eliminate the turnovers. Stop with that if you want to be more than just a 7-win, 6-win football team. Because right now, the way they're turning the ball over and who they have left, that's where they're headed. If we're all being honest with ourselves. And I would rather not cover another losing football team. So here's a thought, Carolina Panthers. Hold on to the damn ball and don't turn it over, especially when you're playing teams that are infinitely better than you, like the Green Bay Packers. That can help equalize things by not doing that and finding a way to potentially force turnovers, which they really have not done that well at all this season. So eliminate turnovers. That is key number 2. Key number 1. Key number 2 is to feed Rico Dowdle the ball. Now, Joe Person of The Athletic putting out there on Friday a report saying that Panthers running back Rico Dowdle will start and get the bulk of the carries Sunday at Green Bay. Congratulations, everyone. Rejoice. The running back rotation is over. That's per league sources, by the way. But Joe said, I'd expect Chuba Hubbard to be part of the offense as well. Dave Canales strongly suggested this would be the case at the start of the week. Now, I was there on Monday when Dave Canales spoke. And Dave said that they could not ignore any longer that Rico Dowdle had been exceptional. And that led us really to understand that they see what you see and what I see, that Rico's been the better back. What Dave wanted to do was to give the guy that he spent an entire season with last year and a guy that they felt like really helped them set the culture here in Carolina. I just still don't know what their identity is, but at least they've set their culture, so to speak. But they wanted to allow him the opportunity, that being Chuba Hubbard, a couple of weeks, that being 2, to get up to speed and to show why he deserved to still be a part of the game plan. Well, he didn't do that. He did not play nearly to the level that Rico did during the last 2 weeks of what was a pretty clunky running back rotation. And I've said this multiple times this week. I had no problem with Dave Canales wanting to have a rotation. It made sense. What I did not think made sense was you get this series, you get that series, you get this series, you get that. No, way too clunky. There was no flow to it, no rhythm. And I think that was a detriment to the offense the last 2 weeks. It was not a detriment to the offense that Chuba Hubbard was getting touches. It was a detriment the way that Dave Canales was going about it. 2 different things if you are listening and understanding what I'm telling you. But Rico's obviously been the better back and has been one of the best backs in the NFL. Rico right now, according to True Media, is 3rd in EPA per rush at a 0.16, right behind Jonathan Taylor at 0.18 and James Cook at 0.17. Top 3 running back as far as that goes. When looking at successful play rate on rushing attempts, he's 4th in the NFL among running backs with at least 100 carries this season. He's 3rd in successful offensive play percentage on run plays, and then he is 2nd an explosive play percentage at 12.2% of the time he touches the ball. It's an explosive play, meaning a reception of 16 plus yards and a rush of 12 plus yards. And he's only behind Jonathan Taylor from that standpoint. And he's 4th in explosive rush percentage, which is rushes of 12 plus yards. Feed Rico the ball. The best offensive performance they've had so far this season was a couple of weeks ago against Dallas when Rico was the primary back. Feed Rico the ball. That's how you find a way to win this game on Sunday, especially when your pass game has been subpar all year long and hard to believe it's going to get that much better based off of what we have seen. Number 3, you got to find a way to disrupt Jordan Love. He's coming off of a 29 for 37 performance, 360 yards and 3 touchdowns against Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh defensively has not been great. Carolina's been better, but I have my doubts. I dropped this golf ball. I still have my doubts about how good the Panthers defense really is this season. They did a good job against the run, even against pass last week, and now Buffalo didn't have to throw the ball. I don't know how good they really are. We'll find out more about that on Sunday against Green Bay. The Panthers have a league low PFF pressure percentage of 26%. And honestly, I don't think that's going to get much better. I don't. Pat Jones is out for the season. Princely's hurt right now. He'll be back. It's not like it's going to be one of those things that keeps him out a long time. Nick Scorton hasn't gotten there yet. And then DJ Wooden has 0 sacks. So I don't think it's going to happen. Travis Gibson, apparently from all the San Francisco media, is somebody that they were surprised the Niners didn't try to protect. So maybe he can give them a little bit of something, but expecting a lot out of him would be unrealistic in all likelihood. So yeah, we'll see what they can do. Now, Jordan Love, and these are numbers that Peter Bukowski of Locked On Packers put out there yesterday. When kept clean, he has a 92.3 PFF grade. An 88.8% adjusted completion percentage, 13 touchdowns to 1 interception, and a 135.8 passer rating. He has been outstanding when kept clean. I think he's going to be kept clean a lot on Sunday. But if he's not kept clean, like against the game against Cleveland where he was sacked 5 times, the Packers could lose because that's the only time that they lost so far this year. So Carolina's got to find a way to get him off his spot, get some pressure on him. And I get they have no Princely, but the other guys who were playing, Incombe, step up. Gibson, welcome to Carolina, step up. Nick Scorton, live up to the second round billing. We're halfway through this. Find a way to get after the passer, and you can win this game on Sunday. If you don't, you're going to get shredded. That's just been the reality for every team that's played against them so far this season, and will be the reality for Carolina as well if they cannot get pressure on Jordan Love. So number 3, find a way to disrupt Jordan Love. Number 2, feed Rico Dowdle. And number 1, eliminate turnovers. Those are my 3 keys of victory. We'll go over those keys on Tuesday to see how the Panthers did. Can the Panthers avoid yet another blowout loss, or will they find a way? And will they find a way, actually, to pull off an upset? We'll talk about that more here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonnfl to get 50% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonnfl. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONNFL so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Back here on Locked On Panthers, one final word before this Week 9 matchup against the Packers at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field or whatever. I don't have the voice that the big voice guy does. But you guys seen NFL films. You know what I'm talking about. It's one of the hallowed grounds in American football. And I was thinking about it because we had Mike Jack was in the locker room talking. I was in a meet a scrum the other day and was just talking about just the setup of Lambeau and just what it's like to be up there. And you think about it, man, like what NFL stadiums really like get you charged up to go play at them? You think about Major League Baseball, you have Wrigley Field, you got Yankee Stadium, now the new Yankee Stadium, well, whatever, but you have Fenway, you got some pretty cool spots to go watch. You got Chavez Ravine, you got all that. The NFL, you got Lambeau Field, that's it. All those old places, maybe I don't know if people loved Giants Stadium back when it was there where the Jets and Giants used to play. I mean, maybe you look at Candlestick Park where the Niners used to be before they moved to really anywhere but San Francisco. That stadium ain't anywhere close to San Francisco and where Candlestick was. If y'all have ever been in the Bay Area, there's not really stadiums like that. Texas Stadium. Yeah, it's interesting that this is basically the one place in the National Football League that's like, oh, damn, we're going to Lambeau. Like college, you have all those places. You have the Rose Bowl. I mean, you got Baton Rouge, you got Tiger Stadium down at LSU. You got Bryant-Denny Stadium there. You got Happy Valley, Penn State Beaver Stadium. You got all these cool places you can go to. But in the NFL, it's Lambeau. And like that's kind of why I wanted to go, because it's just one of those places that it's just different. And it's exciting for Carolina to be in this spot sitting at 4-4. And if you look at the NFL standings, the Panthers are the only team in the NFL that are 4-4 right now after one game played in Week 9. And if you look at all 32 teams, they are 17th in the NFL, smack dab in the middle, which is a positive based off of where they've been the last couple of weeks. But the problem for me, though, going to this game is that last week was alarming. I felt good about their chances to compete and potentially win that game. I wouldn't pick them to beat Buffalo because that would be foolish because the Bills are obviously a better team, but the Bills had a weakness and it was stopping the run, and Carolina did not exploit that weakness. And they really couldn't do that in large part because Andy Dalton just broke his thumb and then couldn't hold on to the football and had 3 turnovers that led to 17 points for Buffalo. So they never gave themselves a chance, or at least Dalton never gave them a chance. And they couldn't really establish the run. And Dave, who we felt like got away from it, said he didn't get away from the run because of this situation and time and score of the game. Either way, they got outclassed. And it wasn't the first time we had seen them against a quality opponent get outclassed. That happened against New England. Now, back in week 4, I sat there and was like, okay, there's no way that the Patriots are 29 points better than the Carolina Panthers. Now, today, I'm thinking, okay, maybe they are 3 scores, but not 4 scores better than Carolina. Because Drake May's been awesome. Mike Vrabel's done well what Mike Vrabel does, and why Tennessee, a dumpster fire of an organization, by the way, should never gotten rid of him and should have listened to his ass, but they didn't. And now, well, we see where the Titans are at. Back to probably picking number 1 overall again for the second year in a row because their owner is clueless. All right, New England's pretty good. And so is Buffalo. So if you look at that, you've gotten blown out by 2 of the best teams in the AFC, 2 playoff caliber teams. And if you want to count Jacksonville, I think Indianapolis has proven that they're pretty doggone good this year, even with Daniel Jones up there. Shout out to, Charlotte, North Carolina's own Daniel Jones. It looks like they're going to win that division just based off of the first half of the season and just how well Jonathan Taylor, who for whatever reason is not anywhere near the top 5 of the MVP voting, the way he's played and the way that defense has played as well. They have not played well. Carolina has against the better teams in the NFL. And now they have another team in Green Bay, not Pittsburgh, who they're playing on Sunday. So because of the results of the New England game and the Buffalo game, I'm concerned about whether Carolina can play a competitive game against them. And I feel like we have a pretty good indication of who this team is so far this year because when they played the dregs of the NFL, that being the Dolphins and the Jets, they won those games. Now, it's not like they won those games convincingly, as we know, but they won. So they showed who they are not by beating the Jets and the Dolphins. They also showed who they aren't by losing in convincing fashion by a combined 60 points against the Jets and against the Bills. They were able to beat Dallas. If you look at some of the numbers, if they had not turned over to start the game against Arizona, that's a game they absolutely could have won. And then to each his own as far as how you feel about Jacksonville. I don't think they're very good. But all right, they lost to a 4-3 Jags team. They're right there again, 4-4, only 4-4 team in the league, 17th place out of 32 teams, smack dab in the middle. If they're going to break out of the middle, they got to be able to win a game like this. Do I have a lot of confidence that they'll win it? Frankly, no. Because why should I? What have they shown us this season that would lead you to believe, other than just you loving the Carolina Panthers and wearing processed blue-colored glasses, what have they shown you to make you believe they actually have a chance to win this game on Sunday? I'm waiting. What have they shown us to believe that they can win this game? I want to be wrong because I want to talk about a team that gets a huge win against Green Bay. But like Peter Bukowski said yesterday, I just don't see it for Carolina. So show me. Show me that you're more than a team that just gets pants every time they play a real team. And I was playing golf with my buddy today, who's a Panthers fan, listens to the podcast, and he's like, I mean, it's great that they won those games, but it's really not that exciting when every time you play a good team, you get your ass kicked. So find a way to accept the fan base, Panthers, or just be mediocre, which of course is a improvement from what they've done recently, but it's still going to leave people wanting. And where does that get you other than your stadium getting taken over and your fans being checked out by time it's December? So find a way to be competitive and show that you are not just the same old Carolina Panthers. We'll find out on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern up there at Lambeau Field in Green Bay. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe, follow the show free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, where, again, on Wednesdays throughout the regular season, I'm answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions, either at me or DM me over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council to get those questions to me following the game on Sunday. In the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding. And I will be back with y'all on Sunday, live here on YouTube, immediately following the Panthers game up there at Lambeau against the Packers. Talk to you then.